The world just got a little bit more dangerous. President Trump's meeting with Putin canceled. The Colombian president making threats. Iran's nuclear program accelerating. And while the world is watching this geopolitical chess game, right underneath our noses, they are building a digital control system that will connect us to Revelation 13.
There has been a lot of talk about peace this year. But meanwhile, global leaders just continue to push us towards more war. Negotiations between the U.S. and Russia have broken down. President Trump threatened Hamas with military action again. And Venezuela is bracing for a potential invasion by the U.S. military. The president of Colombia wants to take out Trump, and the Iranians have announced that there will be no restrictions as they rebuild their nuclear program. 2025 has certainly been a year of war. But I have a feeling that global conflict is going to escalate to an entirely new level during the months ahead. When we originally learned that there would be a second summit between President Trump and Putin in Hungary, that sparked a tremendous amount of optimism. But now it is being reported that Trump's meeting with Putin is officially off. The White House said on Tuesday that the planned meeting in Budapest, announced by Trump just last week after his 2-hour phone call with Putin, was no longer in the works after Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke Monday with the Russian foreign minister. There is no way to spin this to make it sound like good news. Russia's position on ending the war has not changed, and so U.S. officials saw no reason to proceed with the summit. Politico reported that the rapid dissolution of plans for another summit between Trump and Putin just 2 months after they met in Alaska stemmed again from Russia's refusal to budge from its maximalist positions and what it would take for it to halt its war in Ukraine. In a press conference in Moscow on Tuesday, Lavrov said he informed Rubio that Russia's position that a peace agreement must come before a ceasefire in its war with Ukraine, and that has not changed. And the Russians had already proposed a compromise solution at the summit in Alaska, but Western leaders were not even willing to consider it. Western leaders seem to think that the Russians should just accept their terms for ending the war, but that simply is not going to happen. The Russians are clearly winning the war at this point, and they captured another 120 square miles of Ukrainian territory during a recent 4-week period. There is only one way that the Russian forces can be prevented from gobbling up even more territory. But if NATO forces to intervene in Ukraine, that will put us on the brink of nuclear war. Now, on the other side of the planet, the leaders of Colombia and Venezuela are very upset that the Trump administration has mobilized an invasion force in the Caribbean and have been bombing numerous ships because what they were carrying. During a discussion with President Coronel and President Petro, who ominously stated that if President Trump is not willing to back down, the solution is to take out Trump. Those were his words. He said humanity has a first off-ramp, and it is to change Trump in various ways. The easiest way may be through Trump himself, the easiest. If not, take out Trump. Most Americans don't realize this, but we really could go to war with Colombia. Of course, we could also end up in a war with Venezuela. In fact, Venezuelan officials are so concerned about a potential U.S. attack that they are literally sleeping in different locations every night. This comes from the Gateway Pundit, and they're stating that figures within the regime have taken to changing mobile phones, sleeping in different locations every night, and purging suspected dissenters in a series of internal witch hunts, according to multiple people with knowledge of the situation. Now, of course, Colombia and Venezuela are no match for the U.S. military, but the forces that we have mobilized in the Caribbean would not be nearly enough to conduct a full-scale invasion in the region. The 10,000 U.S. troops now operating in the Caribbean were sent to interdict the boats carrying you know what, but the Venezuelan president on September 30th placed the military on full wartime alert, equipped with Russian air defenses and anti-ship missiles, backed by what Maduro claims is a militia of over 8 million members. For American commanders, that means that every operation and incident now happens under the threat of Venezuelan retaliation, a situation the current force is not ready to handle. In the Middle East, the ceasefire deal hangs by a thread, and President Trump just threatened to straighten out Hamas by force if they do not abide by the perimeters of his 20-point plan. And will the ceasefire hold? Probably not for much too longer. And it turns out that Hamas still possesses a very strong fighting force in Gaza, with over 30,000 fighters on the Strip, split into 5 regional brigades, 24 battalions, and some 140 companies. Now, on top of everything else, Iran is making headlines again. Over the weekend, the Iranians declared to the world that they are no longer bound by any restrictions as far as their nuclear program is concerned. So from this point forward, the Iranians will no longer abide by any of the provisions of even the 2015 deal, stating that from now on, all of the provisions of the deal, including the restrictions on the Iranian nuclear program and the related mechanisms, are considered terminated, and that came from Iran's foreign ministry. Do we know what this means? Well, at this point, there is nothing holding the Iranians back from making nuclear weapons. On Monday, they warned that Iran's nuclear program is in even better shape than many people believe. Is the Ayatollah bluffing? Maybe, maybe not. So will we see the next chapter between Israel and Iran? Possibly. We are on the verge of war with both Venezuela and Colombia, war in Gaza, and war in the Middle East could erupt again at any moment, and we are dangerously close to a nuclear war with Russia. Now, with all of that said, here's what Putin has been up to. President Putin on Wednesday oversaw a test of Russia's nuclear forces on land, sea, and air to test their readiness and command structure. The Kremlin said in a statement that the test included the practice launch of a land-based intercontinental ballistic missile, a separate missile launch from a nuclear submarine in the Barents Sea, and the launch of missiles from strategic bombers.
So here's what they're not telling you. As the world watches these conflicts unfold, 3 major digital control systems have just expanded this week, and they're all moving in the same direction, towards centralized power, centralized surveillance, and the perfect infrastructure for Revelation 13. What I'm about to show you next, they're calling the digital kill switch, and it has the ability to cut off your access to commerce, communication, and your identity. And they can do it with one simple switch.
Imagine a world in a moment of crisis, a single command could switch off the internet, cutting off millions of people from their digital connections, financial systems, and daily lifelines. That switch, once theoretical, is now alarmingly close to being real. As governments and corporations build systems capable of central shutdowns, the infrastructure of a digital kill switch is being laid bare. From massive cloud-hosted platforms to interconnected national grids, the blueprint is emerging. A world held captive by one flick of a button. The prophetic implications of this are staggering. In the book of Revelation, we read of a time when no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark. A digital kill switch could easily serve as the backbone of that system, cutting off access to commerce, communication, and identification without the central node's approval. When your bank, your identity, and your online access all hinge on systems you cannot control, you become vulnerable to coercion, dependency, and ultimately, domination. What began as convenience now becomes control. What served us becomes the tool that enslaves. Now the call to believers is clear. The infrastructure for the beast system isn't some distant fantasy. It's being built today. We must anchor ourselves in Christ and His Word, not in the fleeting networks of men. As the world grows more reliant on digital interdependence, we must also grow in spiritual independence. Our faith becomes our network, our identity found in the one who cannot be unplugged. And if the kill switch ever flips, the church must say boldly, my hope, my commerce, my connection is in the King who cannot be disconnected. Just this week, experts have warned of the perils of relying on a small number of companies for operating the global internet after a glitch at Amazon's cloud computing service brought down apps and websites around the world. The affected platforms included Snapchat, Roblox, Signal, as well as a host of Amazon-owned operations, including its main retail site and the Ring doorbell company. More than 2,000 companies worldwide had been affected, according to Down Detector, with 8.1 million reports of problems from users, including 1.9 million reports in the US, 1 million in the UK, and 418,000 in Australia. Many of the sites were restored after a few hours, but some experienced persistent problems throughout the day. The World Health Organization, in partnership with the European Commission, has launched a new AI-driven surveillance platform designed to monitor global social media and online activity in real time. The system, called Epidemic Intelligence from Open Sources 2.0, is being promoted as a tool for the pandemic preparedness, but its capabilities extend far beyond tracking disease. Using artificial intelligence, EIOS scans social media posts, websites, and digital conversations to identify potential health threats, while simultaneously analyzing language, tone, and sentiment to flag what it deems misinformation. This integration of AI monitoring, health surveillance, and data control reflects on emerging global infrastructure that merges public health with digital governance. The WHO claims that the EIOS now operates in over 110 countries and partners with dozens of organizations, including national governments and EU institutions. Behind the language of safety and social listening, the initiative effectively creates a centralized system capable of monitoring how people think, speak, and share information online. The WHO's collaboration with the European Commission's Joint Research Center, known for its Misinfo classifier AI, underscores a growing push to automate information filtering and redefine acceptable discourse. Critics are warning that such a system could be used to surpass dissent or label inconvenient truths as misinformation, blurring the line between health protection and censorship. While the WHO insists that the network will enhance global readiness, its real-time data collection and behavioral analysis marks a significant step towards globalized digital oversight, a potential foundation for the information arm of the coming beast system. In the meantime, over in Australia, they are pressing ahead with its long-debated National Driver License Facial Recognition Solution, a nationwide biometric network linking driver's licenses and passport data to create a unified digital identity verification system. The Department of Home Affairs will oversee the project, with each state maintaining its own records. Officials say the system will protect citizens from identity theft, prevent crime, and improve public safety. Tasmania, Victoria, and South Australia have already contributed their data, and Western Australia is expected to join by year's end. A related program, the Face Verification Service, or FVS, is set to launch in 2025, enabling both government agencies and private businesses to authenticate individuals through facial scans. Though the government promises human oversight and non-biometric alternatives, many see the NDLFRs as another step towards mass surveillance, a digital infrastructure capable of tracking every citizen under the guise of convenience and security. All of this is not a coincidence. Revelation 13 verses 16 and 17 tells us, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark." No man might buy or sell. That is economic control. That is what a digital kill switch enables. That is what facial ID networks enforce, and that is what AI misinformation monitors protect. We are literally watching the infrastructure for the mark of the beast being built in real time. While the world is distracted by geopolitical chaos, the control grid is being assembled piece by piece. And there's one more development this week that shows how rapidly these pieces are moving into place. Saudi Arabia's crowned prince is scheduled to visit the White House on November 18th. Keep in mind, Saudi Arabia has been on the forefront of digital currency implementation and smart city technology, the kind of technology that makes all of this possible. So where does this leave us prophetically speaking? Well, we're definitely seeing wars and rumors of wars concerning Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the United States, now also Venezuela, possibly Colombia.
Israel, Iran, and then of course we have these digital control systems, and that leads us to Revelation 13. So definitely signs of the times and prophecy coming alive right before our very eyes. And I would love to hear from all of you, so please do leave your comments below this video. When you have some time, come and visit me on my social media pages as well as my website at www.cww7news.com. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, God bless and stay safe.